letting a little bit of himself out. Barry, I guess we're like most of the general public. We give them a fair sort of bagging from time to time, but it's not an enviable task, is it?
No, it's not an easy job, Ken, and Ian was saying there on the tape that he's been in it a long time, and he's had to change his style over the years, and I can remember playing to Ian, and he was never a... he was always fairly serious sort of guy and didn't have a great sense of humour in the early days, but I think he's probably mellowed a little bit, and he's certainly done a great job to last as long as he has.
Yeah. All right, well, let's turn our attention now to Alan Jeans. Jeansy today, his 500th VFL game. You played under Alan when St Kilda won their only premiership. What sort of a bloke is he?
I'm probably very biased in my regard of Alan. I've been very close to him for a long time, and he's just a great man, not only from a football point of view, but also as a person. His whole attitude to life is just great, and anybody that comes in contact with Alan can only be the richer for it, but certainly deserves all the success that he's had, especially in the last 4 or 5 years since he went to Hawthorn, and he never really had the recognition I think he deserved at St Kilda. They always said that he had some good sides and perhaps should have won more flags, but there were reasons for that as well. He's
a fairly rare breed of an Australian, isn't he? He's not a knocker.
No, he's very laid-back sort of character, yeah, and he's got two sides. He's got his public face and his private side, and he's a very humorous man and has some great sayings that can really bring you unstuck in a flash.
Yeah, I remember a story about him at one stage not wanting players at St Kilda to wear as much as a moustache, and he's got Dermy Brereton running around with a diamond stud.
Well, I can always remember him saying, you know, Trotty had a moustache at one stage, and he said, Turk, no one's ever played with St Kilda with a moustache, laddie. So it came off very smartly, but now they have earrings and long hair and everything, so things certainly have changed.
They have indeed, and he's changed with them. All right, Brisbane tomorrow, Brisbane and North Melbourne. Interesting to see now that Mark McClure has been cleared to play with Western Districts in the QAFL. On the comeback trail for the Bears?
Well, I think they certainly need somebody up forward, and that's been their biggest problem, Ken, is the fact that they can't kick goals, and good forwards are certainly hard to find, and that's they've been all over the countryside trying to find players, and they're looking at Judge as well from Western Australia. I think they've got to try it if he's available, and it's at the right price. I think Carlton shouldn't put too much money on them. He gave them great service, and I think that they should probably have a go at him, yeah.
I think the Brisbane football public need a bit of a rev, actually, because, you know, they seem to have jumped off the bandwagon very quickly with the Brisbane Bears. They forget that, you know, there's still Richmond and Collingwood and those other sides that are loitering around the ladder underneath the Bears. The Bears are still to some degree competitive. For God's sake, it is their first season in the competition. They've started from nothing 6 months ago. They really need those Brisbane people to stop knocking them and get out and start supporting them a bit.
That's probably the Australian way, is to knock people when they're down. They certainly started well, and they've hit a flat spot in terms of performance, and it's certainly not easy to do what they've done in the first 8 months, start a football side from scratch in very quick time. And they need a little bit of support, and it'll be great to see the Brisbane crowd get behind the Bears tomorrow and see if they can really do well against North Melbourne.
Yeah, I think they deserve the support of the Brisbane people, and I hope they turn up at Carrara in their droves tomorrow to have a look at the game. All right, we're going to take a look at some of the highlights of the first half of today's game now as we continue at half-time, and certainly there's been plenty of action, but Carlton really looking pretty much the goods in the first quarter in particular.
Yes, Ken, I thought their first quarter was excellent against the wind, and also they continued to work in the second half as well. But just towards the end of that second quarter, I felt that Hawthorn started to perform a little bit better, and some of their players started to get a kick, which they weren't doing early, and the Carlton players just dropped off a fraction. But it's going to be very interesting in the next 10 minutes, I think.
In spite of the comment by one of our commentators at the ground, I thought Bertie Dear-Peter-Medico got off to a brilliant start in the game.
Well, he's Hawthorn's best player to date, and they said there that he's had 19 possessions, so that indicates how well he's going. And he's certainly given Paul Meldon the run around, and I think you might find that Walls will probably take Meldon off him shortly and get Meldon in his more familiar role as an attacking sort of player.
It's been very much a finals type of game, hasn't it? Rough and tough and hard to go.
Yes, it has, Ken, and that's just an indication of how strong and committed the two sides are.
Hawthorn at the moment spending a bit of time in the rooms. They're not yet back out on the ground, or just about back out on the ground now. That's going to cost them money. They'll get fined about $500. That's $1 for every game Alan's coached them in. It's a bit tough, isn't it?
Well, they might need to use that time to probably recast their side the way it's been going. There we have the statistics, and it's interesting there, the kicks to Carlton, 106 to 88, and that probably is an indication of the first half of the game.
And still Hawthorn with the ascendancy in the handballs. It'll be interesting to see if they've turned the corner as a result of that $500 fine as they run out, ready to take part in the third quarter of football, and it's certainly shaping to be a beauty. Of course, our match of the day today, Hawthorn and Carlton. Let's return you to VFL Park.